microphone upon his hip. He did suffer fools and he never took no lip. And after serial libertarian, then he came to talk some shit, he said.
What up, peoples? How we doing? Here we go. Boom. Booyah. What up, guys, gals, everybody? How we doing? Welcome to another episode of Twitch Talk. My name's Corey Adam. I will be your host. Hi. How's it going? What up, guys? Nice yawn. I get these yawns out. Yeah, we got a good one. We got a fun show today. We of course have all that stuff. How we doing? What's up, guys? What's happening? Anybody get attacked by a Sasquatch while we were gone? Train some dog videos? Whatever. Missed you this morning? Yeah, I was on for a bit, but I guess it was echoing or something. Did I get my what? Graphics card fixed? Yeah, it was fixed a while ago. Yo, yodel, yo. Yodel, yodel, yo. Like that? Hell yeah. Get those donations out, baby. The fundraiser might be gone, but daddy needs some money. We got bills to pay. Anything you go helps. Goes directly into the channel. Everything helps. Hi. How are we? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I actually, like, it was weird because I called in and then Gary hit me up and they were all acting like it was my end, and I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I haven't done anything. So yeah, we should. Yeah, let's fundraise for a hot plate for him. Jesus Christ. I was on the Steel Toe show. I guess there was some kind of echo with the new setup or something. I don't know. I connected. I was told it wasn't good. I was told to leave, so it did. That's all. Did they end up getting Johnny? Did Johnny come out? Oh, I was able to catch an extra snooze. That was pretty rad. A little bit of a nap. I'm a little nappy guy. I was a little nappy. A little sleepy guy. A little nap. Yeah, it was Cripple Mania. Okay. That's awkward, right? That's an awkward way to be. What up, Jeff? Jeffrey Rogers up in this bitch. What up, dog?
What up, bro? How you doing?
Good, man. I can't stop fucking yawning. How are you?
I'm in the same boat as you. I'm fucking tired.
Yeah,
really
I
waking
woke
up.
up to
I mean,
do.
I've been
I
up
woke up
since
to
7,
do
but I'm
radio.
still not awake.
Oh,
How was your weekend?
It was good. Fun thing. And I know I didn't verify it with anybody, so nobody has any reason to believe me. But I went 5 for 5 on last night's MMA card through my bookie.
Oh, that's right. There were fights on ESPN last night, weren't there?
Yeah, it was super funny because they weren't like interesting necessarily. Like there were a couple good fights. Oh god, this is gonna be this. But for the most part, it was just a fucking decision fest. I don't think there was one finish on the main card. I think they were all decisions.
That's kind of Tim Elliott won. I would have picked him for sure.
Yeah, it's super funny because
Yeah.
if you look through it, it was like the only one that was tough. Not even tough. None of them were tough. But Cater was the guy I picked. He won. Elliott was the guy. And again, it's just because I didn't know who Benoit was. I didn't know who Riviera was fighting. Talia Santos I picked, and I don't even know why. I thought Molly McCann was going to win, but I wanted the odds. And then, oh, Jesus Christ, it's going to be this all day. And then it's Monir Lazez was literally a coin flip. I knew nothing about either of them and just put my money on him because I could do a parlay.
For sure. Well, when in doubt, always go with the Brazilian.
Right. No, that's exactly. The Brazilian or the Russian, when in doubt.
Yeah, for sure. Dan Ige, that's a bit of an upset in my book. I would have thought that he would have had that. I'm a big fan.
Say that again?
Dan Ige
Oh,
losing to Calvin Tatar, that's a bit of an upset.
I
So
don't
that's a
think
good
it is.
pick for you.
Oh, I thought Qatar was gonna win that. Kelvin Qatar, like the only the last 2 years, I think it is, like both of the fights he lost were bullshit decisions, and he's been put out once. I want to say. Let's go check it out. We'll go over to Tapology real quick.
Tapology.
Yeah, Tapology is the shit, man.
I'm a fan.
I love it. It's so funny because when that site first came out, it was garbage, and a lot of people hated it. All right, let's see. Here we go. Kelvin Qatar. Oh my god, I better not be yawning all fucking day. I'm gonna be pissed.
I'm pulling up Ige's Tapology. I mean, he beat Edson Barbosa.
Yeah. No, Ige's no slouch. I'm not saying Ige is a slouch, but I mean, like, yeah. So, Renato Marciano, like, he lost that decision, but he won. And Zabit barely won him, and that was supposed to be a 5-round. Remember that whole bullshit? Because that was going to be a 5-round fight, and it was going to be in Boston, which is where Katar's from. And then they had to reschedule it, and it ended up being in Russia for 3 rounds, and Zabit looked totally gassed at the end of it. And then he knocked the fuck out of Jeremy Stevens.
Yeah.
And then before that, you have to go all the way back to 2010 before he lost again. And I mean, like, he's got some fucking, like Cater's got some names on there, too. Like Stevens, Cody Stevens, too, who I guess isn't a name anymore, but he used to be. And now Ige. I mean, Ige's a good name to have on your resume, too.
For sure. Canceled.
But I mean, like, if you look at Ige's record, the only real profile win he has is Barbosa, in my opinion. I mean, I guess Danny Henry's okay.
Yeah.
But Kevin Aguilera's garbage. Mirsad Bektek nailed it. He also just barely beat him. I mean, that was a split decision. And the Barbosa fight was a split decision. Like, he didn't, he doesn't go through people. Whereas, like, with Cater, yeah, you had the decision last night, but then it's like knockout. A couple losses sprinkled in, but whatever.
Yeah. That's really the only 2 guys that I knew anything about going into the card.
Yeah, I honestly, that was the only fight I was interested in.
I mean, I like Tim Elliott, too. Tim Elliott's a scrappy.
Yeah, but again,
dude.
like, who the fuck is Ryan Benoit? I don't even know who that is. Like,
I don't think he's earned the Benoit. Let's just call him Benoit.
And Riviera versus Stammen was okay, I guess, but, like, Riviera was always going to just wrestle fuck him. That's how he was going to go.
Yeah. For sure.
Let's see. They're talking about the show today up there. Yeah, Johnny showed up. It was Cripple Mania. $5 says it was on their end. The best. Well, no, it absolutely was on their end. Rano Thoughts. I know it was. So, Crack Baby says the only immune deficient second mic is the only one showing up with Mr. COVID positive. I know, right? Like when he kills Johnny, is he gonna feel bad? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Are you gonna go play some Frisbee today, Jeff?
I got the kids today, so probably not. I was gonna try to do it this evening after I got a couple of roofs to get on here during the day. We just finished a build in Brooklyn Park yesterday, and I got to go take the final photos and just do a sweep of the yard. Maybe I'll try to get out this afternoon, but I got the kids this evening, so I don't think I'm gonna get a chance to. I did go play Blue Ribbon on Sunday again, and I finished for the very first time ever 1 under par. So I'm pretty proud.
I actually went out and shot my first round of the year. What was it? 2 days ago. And,
where'd you go?
Just over to Bryant. Bryant's like right by my house.
I haven't been there in a while. Funny story about Bryant. You know, hole 17, the one where you throw off like that 100-foot.
Over the parking lot.
Yeah, over the parking lot. 5 days before my wedding, I played that course with my brother, and you kind of need a lookout just to see where your disc's gonna go.
Yeah.
So I'm standing up to the right-hand side of the launch pad, and my brother's in the back of the tee box, and he throws as hard as he possibly can. I turn around to watch him throw, and the disc comes and splits me right between the eyes, cuts my nose open like a fucking prize fighter,
Nice.
and I bled. I soaked my entire front of my shirt, my pants, my disc golf bag. And I went to the hospital, got stitches. I had to walk down the aisle in Las Vegas with 2 black eyes, covered in makeup and stitches. I look like a shit sandwich.
So really funny thing about that, right? So back in the day, before that was a paid course, that over the parking lot shot was even worse because the parking lot was raised a little bit and it was like directly underneath, right? So this is, man, I don't know. When would this have been? Like 2008, maybe? It's before it went paid. And we went on there, and my buddy was teaching another buddy of ours how to throw. And they were, you ever see the flick shot where you throw it underneath and you throw it like this? It's kind of like a flick motion, right?
Forehand.
Yeah, so one of my buddies, Josh, is real good at that. And he was teaching another buddy of mine, Dan, how to do it, who had never done it. And so he had just gotten I think it was called a flick. I think the disc was called a flick. And
I got one of those in the boat.
And he fucking ran, gave the flick shot, right? It went right over, and then it came cruising back and went right through the back window of somebody's car. And we all just and we looked at Josh and we're like, "Is your name on that disc?" And he's like, "No." And then all of us just scattered in 8 different directions.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Bryant was like, so over here in Hopkins, there used to be one at Lone Lake, which is gone. That's the one where I got my ace. So it's like the place that I got an ace doesn't exist anymore, which is kind of funny. But
so it's kind of like it never happened. I got you.
Well, but I have people that I have a bunch of signatures on it of everybody that saw it. I mean, like there's like what was cool is I was out with a group of like 12 people when it happened, and I threw it hammer. It was a hammer throw, hole in one.
Fucking A, that's awesome. Like you talking tomahawk over the top of the head?
Yeah, that's how I used to drive when I first started playing.
Right, well, because probably grew up throwing a baseball or a football, and it feels real similar. Yeah,
and like I used to have, I used to use the Valkyrie a lot, which I still have a Valkyrie. I love those discs, but they are so good for hammer throw because it just rotates over.
Yeah, I got a disc that's specifically designed for that shot. It's called the Epic. One side of the rim.
I have an Epic.
Yeah, there you go. It's an Aerobie. You can't use them in tournaments. Apparently, they're cheating. I don't understand why. It's just a fucking Frisbee. It's not like it's got like a little motor on it that makes it fly further or anything, but you can't use them in tournaments. But yeah, that's awesome. I've never thrown an ace. I've been playing for 20 years. I've hit baskets, poles, chains, everything. Just never stayed in.
I've thrown two kind of. So I've thrown one ace, like one legit ace, and it was tomahawk, right? I've thrown 2 or 3 other ones where I hit the chains and it bounced out. Like there was one specifically. I think it was at Acorn. Not Acorn. What's the other one? Is it Highland? Is the other one in St. Paul?
There's Kaposia.
It wasn't Kaposia. I think it was Highland. Highland Hills,
okay.
Maybe. I forget.
That one's Highland Hills is the ski park, and that's kind of more like Minnetonka.
No, not that one. Then, like there's one over in
Lakewood Hill. Lakewood Hills is White Bear Lake, St. Paul border. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, I guess could be. I don't know. It's let me look it up. I'll find it. I'm pretty sure it's called Highland, but whatever.
Because the Highland isn't that the ski resort, and it's all just hills up and down, and it's wide open. And I mean, we're talking throwing 300 feet up a hill and then back down and across. I've only played it once, and I was 350 pounds, and it sucked. Fat hills, heat, and humidity. It was 95 degrees. I almost died that day. It was brutal.
Yeah, well, it's on
back.
Yeah, you're right. That's the one that's on the ski hills. So what is here? Hold on, I'm gonna find it real quick.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, there were only 3 in St. Paul. It was Acorn, Kaposia, and this other one. Yeah, it's also Highland. Okay. It's just called Highland Discourse.
Okay.
So there's a Highland Hills, and then there's a Highland Discourse.
Cool.
All right, cool. I know what I'm talking about. So fuck you.
I didn't doubt you. I just knew that Highland Hills was the name of one that's more like.
Oh, you doubted me. You were coming at me, bro.
Oh. I never played that one. Have you ever played that weird course in New Brighton called Hanson Park that's got the old school?
Is that the one that wraps around the water tower? Or no, that's Plymouth, right?
Yeah, that's Plymouth Creek. The one I'm talking about has like old school cones for baskets. Still has your standard traditional cage, but instead of chains, it's got that cone.
Yeah, I remember that one. I haven't played, but my buddy that played it sent me pictures.
Yeah, it's weird. I played that one a couple times. I hit the cone, so that's one that I almost
Have you played Fernbrook, Plymouth?
No, I don't know about Fernbrook. I've played Bassett Creek and Plymouth Creek.
Plymouth Creek is Fernbrook, I think. That's the one off
Okay, yeah.
55, and it's like in between 55 and Rockford and 494.
Yep, first hole you throw over
Yeah.
just a little bit
So
of a
they
hazard.
renamed that like because that course used to be called Fernbrook, and then they changed it because that park is still called Fernbrook, but they changed the golf course to be a different name because they're stupid.
Okay. Yeah, then I've definitely played that one. It's a decent little course. I like
So
it.
here I will. Oh, here I got it right here. This is kind of cool. Oh, hold on. So let's see if we can do this. Hold on. There we go. We're gonna see. Oh, I probably have to save it. I guess. Hold on.
Standing by.
Please hold. Please hold. Oh, I can enlarge it then. There we go. All right. So this is this is Highland Hill or Highland Park, right? So,
Cool.
like it's.
I'll pull up Twitch.
Oh.
I'm just in the Discord. I'll pull up
Well,
Twitch.
here I can put it in the. I can put it in the Discord if that's easier for you.
Yeah, that's easier.
Yeah. I will. It's gonna be in Show Talk, just right above us.
Disc golf announcements
No,
on
so
air.
where
Showtime.
we are in on air, I put it up in Show Talk, and actually I'll put it in Discord or in Disc Golf too.
Yep, I'm looking at it now. Looks like it's got a couple of different courses, a little 9-hole and then the more advanced 18-hole all the way around the course. That looks cool.
Yeah, well, so the 9-hole is like a weird one because I don't know if it still exists, I guess. But the 9-hole was like a gimmick that they were trying to do for a while because it was a tiny little par 3. But then
Well, it's probably just like an ace race course, yeah.
Right. But so which one was it? Hole 16 or 17? I think it was 16. Oh, it might have been 6. It's one of the dog legs though, right? No, it would have been, you could have seen it. So it would have been like 17. But anyway, so I threw it, right? And it's you're up on an elevated point. Okay.
Cool.
And the chains hit and we're all celebrating. And then we walk over to it and the disc is like right next to it in the dirt. But we watched it, but we all watched it hit the chains.
It's still, yeah, I don't care. I still get jazzed when I hit the chains or the basket.
How could you not? But so anyways, yesterday, my first round of the year, right? Holy shit, am I out of shape. I was huffing and puffing. I fucking was playing like shit. It was just fucking like, oh yeah, I got to do this more than once a year.
Yeah, and there's some legit hills at Bryan. You gotta.
Oh yeah, like when I was going around that back area where you go up to shoot over the parking lot, those like because they got those like 3 little quick little like it's like a par 4 and a par 3 that go around that pond and then come up the hill. Oh man, I was sucking air. It was so funny.
I haven't played that one in a couple of years. I got to make it down that way. I just, I live in the northern suburbs, so I kind of just party around here.
Well, that one's like right by my house. That's the one that's like that. That one's literally the closest. But I don't play that one. I don't play that one that often because they went to pay to play, and I know that that's kind of just what a lot of them are doing. But I still will go to Plymouth or Bassett Creek Bassett Creek. No. Yeah, the New Hope.
When you say pay to play, is it the standard $3?
Yeah. But it's the principle for me. I don't do that shit. Like Frisbee golf. Like the reason I got into it was because I didn't want to pay for it.
Right, but I mean, do they just have like a pay box in the parking lot?
Well, so with Bryant, they have a pay box when you go in, but they also have like a season pass you can buy, and the season pass is like $100, and it's for that and Highland Hills, so it's for both the ski. And that's like, but nobody goes to that one. That one's garbage. Oh, let me go serpentine around a fucking ski hill. Get fucked.
There's one at Elm Creek Park too, and I believe that's a Three Rivers course. I think if you buy the season pass for any and all Three Rivers courses, they're included. So I think there's actually more to it than you think, but yeah, $3 a round's not terrible. I mean, I'm paying $8 a round at Blue Ribbon, $10 at Clearwater,
and I mean that's fine. But like my whole thing is that if I'm gonna play green fees, I'd rather play golf. Like the whole reason I played disc was because it was free.
But, right,
it's still,
or I
it's
want
still
some
cheaper, and I understand the ones that are charging like for the most part are kept better. Like, cause I mean, like you go to like Comprosia or like Acorn, like Acorn's not even paid yet, but like Bryant, the difference in Bryant since they went paid is crazy. Like they're clearly putting a lot more money into it.
I haven't been there in probably 5 years. I'm definitely gonna go check that one out.
Oh, I mean, it was probably the same as it was 5 years ago because I think they changed it about 10 years ago. But like that course used to be. I mean, it was never trash, but it was way worse than it is. So
I always remember it being one of the funner courses. I would compare that one back in. I mean, now Blue Ribbon is head and shoulders above what I remember Bryant being, but it was always on a par back 10 years ago when I was playing all the time.
Yeah, I think Bryant is. I don't know. I still like. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Acorn. Like I don't know. Like back in the day, that first hole where you're under the trees going underneath that fucking river. Like it's just there's something about Acorn that's so fucking tough that I've just always enjoyed it.
Well, go there now because they changed everything.
Yeah,
and it sucks.
that's what I heard. I heard it's the worst. Well, I don't like driving that far. Like here's the thing. I live in the western burbs, and there's like the Eden Prairie, the what is it, Flying Cloud one,
Yep.
Highland Hills, Bryant, Fernbrook, which is Plymouth Creek, I guess, and then what's the other one? There's one up in New Hope, Plymouth area where you like go around a water tower. That one kind of sucks, but I mean, just like there's like 5 or 6 decent ones around me that I just like. I don't ever go out. Like if I was gonna go out, I would go up to like Clearwater or Comprosia or just like one of the like crazy ones, you know?
For sure. Well, you got one. There's a 9-hole right by you in Hopkins. Apparently, Blake Middle School threw one in.
Yeah, I mean that one's not really. So the thing about Blake. So I actually live like that's off Excelsior and Blake Road, right? And I live off of Blake and Highway 7. I mean, it's literally a half block away. But all that one is just some baskets like weaving around a soccer field. It's garbage.
That sounds awful. Yeah, that just maybe to go test out what your disc does.
Yeah,
and
well,
learn
but I mean,
how
I have my own basket. So like, if I want to go test out shit, I just set it up in the park.
There's a new one in Burnsville with 20 holes that I want to check out. It's called Red Oak Park.
I've heard about that. I've not played it. I have a buddy of mine that has been talking about it all year. That's the one that he's been targeting because I guess that one came out last year before.
Yeah, it's brand new. I just downloaded since I started playing in a couple tournaments and stuff. I downloaded the UDisc app, and there's
a UDisc
probably
app?
Yeah, it's just UDisc UDisc, and has all the courses. You can keep scorecards on it. You can register for tournaments, make friends just like Facebook. You have your profile. It tracks your rounds. It's pretty cool. But there's probably in the Twin Cities area. In the Twin Cities area, there's probably 150 courses, and I only knew about 18 of them before I downloaded this app.
King Kong Dong says UDisc is awesome.
It is rad. I just downloaded it about 3 weeks ago when I started playing leagues at Blue Ribbon because you have to be on there to track your round.
Mm-hmm.
And I will friend all of you on here if you guys want to come out and play. I'm down pretty much whenever. But if you scan across Minnesota, you wouldn't believe how speckled it is. It looks like when you're looking at your neighborhood and you finally figure out where the registered sex offenders are. There's just dots everywhere. There's
What do you mean?
hundreds
You don't
and
know?
hundreds.
You don't know your own address?
Of course I do.
No. Well, then you know where the registered sex offender is. It's you.
Well, I only peed outside that school,
Yeah, on a
Yeah,
kid.
I know. It was recess. Yeah, I know it was recess, but I really had to go. And there's a bunch in
There's
Maple.
either that or recess my prostate, huh? Ah.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah,
Oh
there's
my
a few
God!
in
There's a screen name in here called Star Wars 2. That's so funny. I love that. That's real good. All right, buddy.
I would
Well,
like
we're gonna let you go. I gotta run. We got Wrasslin to get to. I just wanted to check
For
in because
sure.
I noticed you were in the Discord.
Yeah, I'll stay tuned in for that for sure.
Yeah, dude. We got John Russell coming up. We got some fun stuff.
Ring Rust with WrestleMania. Outstanding.
Yeah, Ring Russell.
Ring Russell. All right, I'll mute my shit. Have a good day, guys.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. All right, that was Jeffrey Rogers, resident disc golf expert, I guess. Novice? I don't know. Jeff, you got to go into the Discord and post more in the disc golf section. There's a whole section of disc golf now.
I'm medium bad. I wouldn't say expert, but medium bad.
I should put that in there too. Boom. Yeah, you were talking about a TwitchTok golf outing. Maybe we'll do that because, like, I know King Kong Dong plays, and I bet there's other people that play. We could totally get that together. King Kong Dong said, I learned about that app when Preserve opened. Nice. Mikey says, new Sea of Thieves updates gives you a flamethrower. Wait, is that real?
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Into that. All right, guys, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. It means it's time for some goddamn recipes, baby. We even have, let's see if we still have the cue. We do. All right, here we go. player that doesn't loop that all the time. All right, we're gonna pop over here.
On that shit.
What?
On that shit.
Run it?
No, you already did.
I'll play it more. You want me to play some more?
Oh, you don't need to. No, I mean, no, it doesn't. It doesn't give me any particular satisfaction if you run it.
Wow. Well, sorry you don't have any satisfaction, buddy. You
know how it
can
is.
get none satisfaction. Why is my head clipping?
Oh, there we are. Big.
There we go. Yeah.
Very.
Hold on, we're gonna put you here.
Take your
Boom.
time. Do what you want to do.
Look at this.
Just pull yourself.
Look at that. Boom. Hi, how's it going?
Awesome. Fantastic. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How I got a really interesting list today. It's gonna be real fun.
Yeah, well, so do I. So do I. And have you told people what we're going to talk about today?
No, I mean, unless they tuned into your podcast where we kind of spoiled it, I think, or maybe we didn't. I haven't said. Mom was.
Oh, that was off the air.
Okay, yeah. Then nobody knows except for us. Well, should we lead in with your Russell P for the day?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a couple, and what I'm thinking is, I don't know if you would prefer a sweet recipe or a kind of savory recipe. It's up to you. You tell me. All right. Nobody cares.
Do it. Sweet. Sweet ends us. No, yeah, do the sweet one, I guess. I don't know.
Sweet one.
Hey,
All
guys,
right.
give some bits, man. We're doing Russell P's. We're trying to earn money to get Russell a hot plate here.
Oh, that'll be awesome. So here's the thing. I came onto this. This is something some of you may know about this, and some of you may not. I don't know. Apparently, there are people that are cooking donuts with booze in them.
Yeah.
My son told me about this.
As you do.
My son told me about this because I didn't. I mean, you know, I don't drink a whole lot anymore like I used to. But he told me, "Oh yeah, we should go and get some." You know, but here's the thing: when they bake donuts with alcohol in them, unless they're using the alcohol in the frosting, if there's frosting on the donuts, when they bake them in the oven, it takes all the alcohol content out. So all that's left is a taste.
Hate it.
And I don't know about you, but if I'm going to get a donut with alcohol in it, I want to get a buzz. So here's the way to get around that. You can just go to Quick Trip or Super America or wherever and get your donuts. All right. And I like Quick Trip because they got different types.
They just donated 50 bits for your knowledge on metallurgy.
Now that Crack Babies, he was watching. Oh, excellent. He was watching our match game last week on Thursday.
Oh, nice.
And we had that's beautiful. That's awesome. Thank you, Crack Babies. Everybody was making fun of him too. I love the name. I did not make fun of you. I was asking him serious questions about anyway, his deal was
Mikey Two Milk says I dunked Krispy Kremes in vodka.
That's an excellent choice. Dipping is good, but here's the thing. You can dip them in stuff, but I found out something that's even a little bit better. All right. And if you give them a couple of, well, anyway, I'll go through it. So what you want to do is you want to go to Amazon or Target or wherever the hell you shop and see if you can't find a one of those food injectors. And then what you do is you take your favorite vodka or alcohol. For me, I prefer stuff like Bailey's. You can put, I mean, literally you can put anything in, but Bailey's goes really good with a chocolate donut, a chocolate cake donut, not one of those fried ones, but the cake donuts really soak up the liquor. So what you do is you inject that into those donuts and then you let them sit a while. So it soaks real good into the cake donut and they're delicious. And if you eat enough donuts, you can get hammered. But Fireball or Kahlua are great on the plain cake donuts. So that's kind of, I mean, that's it for my recipe.
Okay.
It's not, my recipes are kind of like, they're okay, but they're not like.
Okay. So, I mean, that's all right. I think they're fun. Like, who cares? Fuck them, right?
I mean, the whole point is these are things that I actually do. You don't. I mean, I don't think people want me
King
to
Kong
come up with
Dong
shit.
says I mix frosting with Jameson.
That's perfect. It's perfect, dude. Like one of my favorite donuts when I was a kid growing up. Well, all of look at me. All of the donuts were my favorites. But one of my favorite ones was the one that was cinnamon and sugar coated. And you get that fireball in one of those cake donuts. It reminds me of that. It's a cinnamony, nummy. It's just good. But these are all recipes and recipes. These are things I actually do in life. It's not like I'm it's not like I'm Food Network and shit where it's like, I should come up with a pork recipe today. This is just shit that I do. So
okay. So all right, let's get into the wrestling.
Okay, do you want to talk about? Want to talk about last night, AEW?
Yeah, well, so here's what I was going to talk about, and I think like you and I were talking about this, is that like what we're going to do format-wise for the wrestling viewers is we're going to do a review of the AEW events, which are on Wednesday, and then we'll both like pick one, I don't know, randomly, I guess, just something like, is there, because you watch some main WWF products, right?
I watched a little bit of a. I watch a little bit on Monday. Okay. I didn't watch it all on Friday because I had something else going on. But my review of the Friday SmackDown is shit followed by suck followed by some more shit.
Yeah, more like nap down.
It was terrible. But here's the thing. The good thing now with wrestling is you got AEW. It's hard for me because NXT is on Wednesday too, and I don't watch it at the same time. But you've got Impact. You've got about 40 wrestling talents that were released by WWE because of the COVID virus. Mm-hmm. Basically, it was not for that. It was because Vince McMahon is a cheap, heartless bastard. But their release date, their no compete, ended yesterday. So we got a couple of shows coming up. We got one show coming up. We didn't see anybody really on AEW last night because they could have showed up there if they had cause to. All right, but the next big show is, I believe, on Saturday night, the Slammiversary event for Impact, and there are all sorts of rumors about people showing up there. There's in one of them. Let me see if I can find a little information here. So there's a tag team called the Rascals in Impact, and they made an open challenge, and people are all, speculating that this is the way that Anderson and Gallows are going to show up.
Sure.
To Impact. But as we were talking with Big Ace on Tuesday night, there's another team that could show up, and that's Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. So, but here's the thing. We know that somebody is going to show up. This is going to be the door for one of those two guys to show up. The other thing is that the champion at Impact right now is a guy named Moose, who actually I love. If you haven't seen him, you probably remember him. He was in ROH for a while.
I do remember Moose.
But he's the champion. He did a Twitter a while back and listed Eric Young, Gallows and Anderson, Kurt Angle and EC3 in the video was blah, 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 blah. He was talking shit about him, right? So, and they've said that a former world champion is going to make a special appearance. So it could be it could be anybody. It could be Eric Young. Eric Young was the Impact champion back in the day. EC3 was as well. And Kurt Angle, of course, has been a champion on multiple promotions. So that's going to be kind of exciting. And I'm on the fence whether I want to pay for that pay-per-view or not. So anyway, that's Saturday. Then we have this kind of scary thing on Sunday night, which is the horror show at Extreme Rules. And I mean, we talked about this a little on Tuesday, folks. The idea is that they're going to close an eye for an eye match, which was the stipulation made by Rey Mysterio against Seth Rollins, that actually the only way somebody wins is if they pull the other guy's eye out. Clearly, that's bullshit, right? What happened was,
what if it's not though?
Really, do you think one of them have a gimmick where they can
hope.
just slodge their eye?
Maybe one of them has a glass eye we don't know about.
Well, it's possible, I guess.
Michael Bisping won a world title in UFC while lying to the doctors about an eye that had been glass for years.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it's in his book. It's hilarious.
Wow, it's crazy. Anyway, so that's kind of and that's kind of the news. I mean, the one of the things about AEW last night that people may or may not know if you watched it. Tony Schiavone who's the basically the announce team with Jim Ross, old JR, and who's the idiot in the mask? I can't remember. Yeah, that's right. I'm just so he was out because his COVID-19 test didn't come back. He's healthy, but this is a difference between WWE and AEW in terms of caring about the people who are working for him. They just didn't even let Tony Schiavone come into the building because his test didn't come back, and they're actually doing tests every week.
Yeah, I mean, that's a smart move.
Yeah. So it was interesting to see Taz basically during the first part of the show do the commentary.
I like that. They need to fire Excalibur and just put Taz on that booth.
Well, I think, see, the thing is, I think they have more plans for Taz. I don't think he would have been on there as the announcer if they didn't really need him. I mean, Alex Marvez was going to be one of their announcers when they started, and he was so fucking terrible.
Gross. Hate it.
Oh my God, so fucking terrible that in fact, even his backstage stuff sucks. But whatever. He's apparently worked for the Jaguars and does stuff for the Jaguars, so he's in. I don't know. Anyway, point being, I would say overall, and I don't know if you get to watch the whole thing, but overall,
I thought it was great. I watched almost all of it, and that's one of the better ones they've put on in a long time.
There were only a couple spots where I thought it was hokey.
Yeah.
And the one that to be honest, one I really thought was hokey was when Jericho came out with the Inner Circle and started ranting.
I love that because they have the calling out of Orange Cassidy, which means we're getting Jericho Cassidy. I'm into that.
Absolutely. I'm into that. I'm not into the way he did it. This is one of the things. Jericho coming out and flapping his gums about the ratings, and I mean, the fact is that they lost, but they did better in a specific demographic. Fucking man, shut it up. Just, it doesn't make any difference. Do your shit. And then the other part of it was that I just kind of felt like when they dropped, if you didn't watch it, it's fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked it, but in terms of just, it didn't match. It's like it was too much work for Orange Cassidy to figure all that shit out. It's not with his character, right?
Yeah, that could be.
Or half-assing it. And so anyway, and then they went to all this trouble, and let's be honest, dropping shit from the ceiling is, I mean, it's been done and done and done and done. It's nothing new. So I was not, I mean, and then Ortega slipping around in the ring. It's like that was the same thing as the milk bath or the beer bath in WWE. So I'm like, it's redone. But that's me because I remember that old stuff.
I don't know. With AEW, I'm just happy when they're not doing fucking plastic barbed wire matches.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's still my least favorite thing that I've ever witnessed is when it was like the Bucks and somebody, it's like one of their second or third where they're like in the bed of barbed wire and they're rolling around and then they all get up and nobody's got any blood marks of any kind. Yeah. You're like, oh yeah, that was totally real barbed wire assholes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I respect that shit kind of, but it's so stupid.
Wasn't that the Mox?
Yeah. It was a boxer.
Mox and Omega, because
yeah.
Moxley has zero problem bleeding.
No, why would he?
I mean, and that, you know, good God, go back and watch some of his stuff. GZW, I think it is. Uh, he and another guy just, I mean, they go outside the building and they're bleeding all over the place in people's trucks, on picnic tables. It's just insane. But anyway, I mean, just to pick one thing out of this, for me is hard, but I will say that final match with Moxley and Cage was pretty
match.
good.
Yeah, it was a great match.
Pretty awesome. The real for me was the Nightmare Sisters, which, I mean, I get what they're trying to do, but it was just like a time filler for me.
Yeah.
That was the worst match.
Yeah, it
but
was.
Moxley and Cage,
it was easily, and it's funny because when I picked him on your show, I mean, I picked almost all of them wrong. But it was fun. I mean, it was good. I think the Moxley match was my second favorite fight on that card. I think.
What was your favorite?
I really liked the Luchador Brothers match.
Dude, that one was awesome.
Like when they did that crazy ass spin thing where they do the backbreaker and what is it? Harwood comes over and it's like a flying backbreaker. It's the craziest shit ever.
Yeah.
And the other dude just holds him there and they do it and you're just like, what the fuck? It's just like
there's so much cool stuff these guys are doing, and it's all innovative.
Oh, here I found the gif of it. Hold on. Thank you, Twitter. Wait, I had it. Where the fuck did it go? God damn it! I hate it when you have a link and then you click on it and they just route you to somebody's fucking page, and they post so much that you have to sort through it all. Yeah, here, hold on. We're here. The Moxley running down the stairs was pretty hilarious too.
Oh yeah.
This guy actually has a lot of cool gifts here. Here, let's where is the
What's up, man?
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to find the backbreaker that I was talking about. Yeah, the orange juice was good. Here, we'll just put it over here. Here. So this is a guy, Italio Santana, and he puts gifts up after almost every wrestling event. Is it here? I mean, the Lucha Brothers, the flying that they do is so crazy to me. It's just here it is. It's this one right here. Clack. Dude, that's so crazy. Can we get it bigger? No, whatever. Let's go like that and like that and like that. So you can see he just comes right over the ropes and then just pap. Boosh. That's I understand, wrestling and all that, but the way that he holds him, the way that the body goes, and then the way that he flips over, that is one of the craziest high flying moves that I've seen, and it wasn't even it's just something they do. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. What did you think of the Canadian Destroyer out of the ring?
That was fun.
That was in the Elite Jurassic Express match.
And this, I mean, look at the height that they get on this. I mean, the Luchador Bros, Lucha Bros, I keep wanting to bury them, but they just it sucks that the Bucks don't have anybody else that they can really do this with. But that's what I think is so cool about FTR is FTR is coming in and saying, no, we can do that too, which is rad. I mean, the high flying stuff that goes on with these guys, it's crazy. I mean, get the juice there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was what?
See, the beautiful thing about that, in there they are with pouring the
orange juice.
No, that was beer. They're pouring beer on Omega's head.
Good.
Because Omega refused last week to share a beer with him. Hangman was back in the back drinking. And after the match, FTR came up and sat down, and he offered him some Jack. And so I think the things that are happening are going to be interesting. I think when Omega and Hangman finally do split up, what's going to happen is Hangman's going to gravitate towards FTR. Omega's going to go with the Elite, and Omega seems like he's almost turning heel after that match that they had with Jurassic Express, because he just kept beating the hell out of Marco Stunt. But anyway, point being, it was fantastic. I don't want to take too much time talking about that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was on a card where, I mean, legitimately, you had maybe one bad fight. That one stood out, and that's impressive to me.
Absolutely.
Because I think,
and,
yeah, I mean, it's just like to get because I mean, the Nightmare Sisters was easily the worst match on that card. I mean, that was I would say if you're grading them, that would be I would probably give that match an F. I honestly would. And it's not like the match itself wasn't an F, but because everything else was like a B or an A, it just looked even worse. It was just not an enjoyable.
Really stood out.
Yeah, not an enjoyable time, and it really interrupted some awesome stuff.
That's part of the problem with AEW right now too, is that their women's division doesn't have any real direction.
Right.
And unfortunately, Kylie Ray, they had big plans for her, and she left. Lots of rumors about why she left, but the point is she's over at Impact right now. And then Britt Baker got hurt, and she is doing a fantastic job, but she can't do anything in the ring. I'm not like 100% sold on Nyla Rose, although they brought Vicky Guerrero in as her manager. We have more managers right now.
Well, I think there's a real problem going on with female talent outside of the WWE. And I think that's just that there's not a lot of upper tier ones, because what you see, and this isn't just unique to AEW, you see it in a lot of the other promotions that aren't WWE, where they're hiring some big lady name NWA was doing that. They hire bigger names from the past because they're just there. And I think that's what Guerrero is. Yeah, Lena, and that's what Guerrero was. Is Guerrero's just there so that they could say that? Because and that's something that I think needs to be addressed, is if AEW is committed to being this equality wrestling, which is fine, you have to start getting your talent on the ladies' side higher.
I think the difficult part for them is the level of women wrestlers with WWE is so high.
Right. Because they get all of them.
Oh, and yeah, because there were women, like Penelope Ford was wrestling guys. Tessa Blanchard was wrestling guys, who, by the way, who knows what's going to happen with her. But there's outside WWE, there was no women's division, really. It was okay. The only other one really was Impact. ROH kind of had one, but not. It was never anything in the indies that, you'd have women that have a match, but it was hard for them to build a name, because anytime anybody would start to build a name, WWE'd hire them and take them down. And so it's a real difficult thing. And I don't know. It makes no sense to me to have, and they've got a lot of women on the roster, but they're just not doing anything with them. And they're bringing in women that are apparently good on the indies to come in and do squash matches with people. And Statlander is hurt. Britt Baker is hurt. It's right now, it's a difficult time just because they don't have any depth either.
Right.
But anyway,
well, it's tough.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Now next week,
they want to know why your background is backwards. It's just how it works. It's how it's the graphic card, dog. Whereas Rousey and Casey consider WWE. Good.
Hold on. I think I can fix that. Because I didn't. Oh yeah, that's why. Hold on. I'll fix that. There we go.
Hey, all right.
Is that better?
There you go. Some people were having trouble reading it backwards, I think.
I'm sorry.
I don't care.
Rousey's not coming back.
Ever.
I'm just looking at that. Rousey's not. She ain't coming back.
Yeah.
she disliked it so much that I just don't think Ronda Rousey's ever going to come back to wrestling.
I think she will if she needs a paycheck, but her and Travis Brown have that ranch, so they probably don't.
Man, I would buy a goat from her.
Yeah. Okay, so
Anyway, I want to, and before we move to where this, I want to say one other thing. I thought the first match with Cody and Sonny Kiss was fantastic.
it's great.
Um,
I'm
and-
mad. I'm mad that they like gave it to like. I understand why, but like at some point, Cody, you have to drop this belt if you're serious about this promotion.
they're starting to plant seeds, through the whole thing. Ross was saying he's not on his game. He's not on his game, and they're talking about the fact that his pace is too much. He's wrestling every week. Not everybody else is wrestling every week, and this open challenge that he has for the title is going to catch up with him. And you know what? I kind of like that idea because, but the thing about it, Sonny Kiss, and I don't know if you know this, Sonny Kiss caught a lot of crap because he's openly gay and flamboyant and he dresses that way. And he just caught a lot of crap about it and people saying, why should he get a title match? And it's like, they had other guys come in from other promotions like Ricky Starks came in from NWA and Ricky Starks, I think, has a contract now, but he came in from nowhere, and got a shot. Nobody raised any shit about that. So anyway, I'm just glad that whole thing worked out, and Sonny Kiss looked very, very strong in that match to me. And that last crossroads that he got, holy shit, I literally thought he busted his neck the way that, it was crazy. Anyway, okay. That's all I'm going to say about that, and I'm done.
Yeah, my only thing is just like you're gonna have to drop that belt at some point, and it's getting to the point where it's detrimental for the promotion for you to keep having it. And if you're watching this now and you like wrestling, we've decided that we're gonna cover AEW pretty much, and then we'll dabble into other ones as they come up. But I think right now, me and Russell agree that AEW is the best product. It's just fun to watch, in ways that the other ones aren't. So if you do watch AEW, like that'll be a good part of this on Thursdays, as we'll go over those cards like we are doing right now.
And the other thing, if there's something that's important that comes up, we'll definitely talk about it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I still watch a lot of weird shit. So if there's a crazy Wrestle Kingdom moment or something, we will talk about it. So. Yeah. All right. So I would say that. As much as I hate how it ended, and I hate fucking roll-ups, man. We were just fucking talking about that on Tuesday. Yeah. I fucking hate roll-ups. And it's like, you're not going to drop a belt that you need to drop and we're going to get a roll-up? Fuck you, dude. So this one, I think, was my second least favorite match because of that. But the match itself was good. I feel like this is one of those cases where it's an embarrassment of riches because that Lucha Bros one, I honestly think that Lucha Bros might be the best tag team in AEW. And I think nobody really gives them their credit because of their mask. If you watch the shit they do with the Bucks, there are points where the Bucks aren't even keeping up with them. And that's crazy to think about. That one, what is it, Luchasaurus or whatever it is? That guy is all over. Yeah. And Pentagon, is that the other one? Because Phoenix and Pentagon were the ones fighting. And then there's Luchasaurus, which he's in there when they're doing 3 people.
No. So Luchasaurus is the triad of death, I think they call it, is when the Lucha Brothers and Pac is with them, for the former Aaron, the former Neville.
Okay.
And he's awesome, but of course he's not anywhere to be seen because he's in London,
sure,
or somewhere in England, wherever he lives in England, because he can't come over. They're not doing it, but the 3-man stuff. The 3-man stuff that they do lends itself to a lot of different stuff. But Pentagon and Phoenix are definitely. I would say that as a whole, the AEW elevation of tag team wrestling that they've set out to do is absolutely perfect.
Yeah. And like
mean,
Luchasaurus
'cause a lot
last
of those
night,
matches-
again, like it's like Luchasaurus becomes the like springboard for the Bucks, and it's just weird.
A boy and stunt. Yeah. Last night it was the Bucks and Omega against the Jurassic Express.
Yeah, and they're calling themselves the Elite. I'm surprised they're able to get away with that.
They always have been. But they always have been.
Right, but I'm surprised
That
Ring
goes
of
back
Honor. I'm
years.
surprised Ring of Honor didn't have more control over that.
So here's the thing. I would think, because a lot of these guys are smart, and a lot of these guys know how WWE. If you come up, it's in their contracts, I believe. If you come up with anything, while you're working for them, it's theirs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's why Hogan had
And
to. That's
so-
why Hogan had to be Hollywood Hogan and the Hulkster when he went back to WC or over to WCW.
Yeah. But, anyway, I was 100% happy with that show last night.
Yeah, I was okay. I mean, my only thing is, and this might be weird to say, but I think I walked away from that still more devout that Cody needs to drop that belt. I also walked away from it saying maybe the Bucks are losing a step. Seemed like a very slow showing for them. Like they weren't doing their normal stuff, and I don't know if that's because who they were fighting against or just them in general. And I think maybe it's time to split those dudes up and have them fight each other.
They did have a match against each other on Being the Elite, and I don't know if you watch it. They've been doing that on
But I mean,
YouTube.
like I'm saying, like for reals, you know.
Legit. So here's the thing. When they first started this, and we talked a little bit about it on Tuesday about Kenny Omega. These guys are executive vice presidents, okay? And so one of the concerns that a lot of wrestling fans had was, are these idiots just going to put the belts on themselves and that's it? A la Vern Gagne from the olden days. And they, to their credit, they haven't. They have gone to the point where they don't want the belts.
Yeah.
Omega literally has damaged himself putting other people over. The Bucks as well are promoting these other teams, and I think it makes sense because it builds everybody around them. And when everybody around them looks stronger, that means that the depth of what they're doing is so much better, and it's easy if somebody gets hurt.
Yeah.
You go back to what we're talking about with the women. They only have a handful of women that are quality, and it's not a slam on people. It's some of them just don't have experience. But when somebody gets hurt and you can't replace them, what the hell do you do? I mean, it's the same thing with the women's division at WWE. Becky Lynch leaves to go have the baby.
It's even worse
Charlotte
though.
goes
It's even worse though because in AEW's case, I mean, like what you have Nyla Rose, like that's your only real female superstar right now.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody else, and here's the thing: Nyla Rose is interesting because like they didn't even really want her to be that, but she just is because she's like the reincarnation of what China was back in the day. You know, the enforcer.
Yeah. The thing is, she has to be because there's nobody else there.
Right. You have to do like an Andre the Giant type shit where it's like this giant spectacle. And I think that's what I enjoyed about putting Guerrero with her is like Guerrero can talk some ass, man. And like I love that shit because it's like Nyla, as good as she is as a wrestler, I love how slow she goes. She's very like Undertaker-esque in the way she'll go slow and then just speed up out of nowhere. And she's powerful enough to where you're going to see all the like big bully moves from her, but she's like Brock Lesnar. She's not that good on the mic. And so I think getting her somebody like Vicky who's going to talk that shit, that's going to be really important going forward.
Agreed.
All right. So I would say overall, I don't know, just a straight A, maybe an A-, but I think overall, like, again, there were only 2 matches that were kind of whatever, but that was a really, really good event.
It was fantastic, and I don't know, man. I would say overall, I'd
Probably
I'd
an
go.
A. You know what? I'll give it an A. Like, I feel like the downer ones were, like, the nice thing was, like, the 2 okay fights were pretty quick. That was the nice thing.
Yeah. I would say, you know, I mean,
Maybe B+. I would say
I'm
A-
gonna go
B+.
like a B+.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go like a B+. I mean, because here's the thing: it's still mean, it's supposed to be a pay-per-view, and obviously they can't. And they had some audience, but clearly not a lot. And I mean, you know, there's a couple of things that I was not a fan of. And we've already talked about that. So I'm going to just say B+. I mean, I loved it. I wouldn't have not watched it. You know, so I guess as far as that goes, B+.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right. Well, so we go on to our top 10 for this week. Should we get into it?
Top 10.
So
My gosh,
I'm actually really excited about this, and I ended up coming across some stuff that I didn't think, like, I forgot about, and I was like, oh, because I did a little research. So this week's top 10, we're doing top 10 wrestling promotions of all time, and I think that it's going to be interesting. And I don't think, like, I don't know. I don't really have any honorable mentions, to be honest. Like,
dude, because you're not old.
Right. And I was going to say, because all of my honorable mentions would be, like, shitty ones. Like, the worst one is UFW or whatever it was.
Yeah, see, and I'm not just going in the U.S., I'm going worldwide.
Oh, yeah, no,
but
so did I.
I have honorable mentions.
Okay. We'll go with your...
Then oh, my gosh. The first thing I want to say is...
Is what?
First thing I want to say is... I don't have...
All right, guys, hold on. Time out. Everybody donate some bits, man. It's wrestling talk. We need to get those bits up. We're trying to get a hot plate here. All right, go ahead.
If my ratings are bad on Corey's show, I'm going to have to go back and do my own show, which is on Tuesday nights, and I'm usually... Anyway, point being, I want to say that the NWA is not on my list. And the reason it's not is because the NWA was not a promotion. It was a governing body that the territories that were cooperating all kind of used. They had a traveling champion that worked all the territories in rotation, and it allowed them to work together. It was not a promotion in and of itself. And so I'll just leave it at that. So I'm not going to...
They are on my list.
Well, okay, but historically, yeah, because it's not a promotion. If you're talking about the NWA of now, and see, a lot of these, when you say of all time, I mean, I'll be honest with you. You check this shit out. AEW is not on mine. They've barely been a promotion for a year. So of all time, I mean, they could fuck it up here in a couple of years and they'd be done. So I'm looking at it longer term, I think, probably than you are. But I have honorable mentions. One is Ohio Valley Wrestling. And this is old school, but it's not. Ohio Valley Wrestling was still going on once WWE took everything over. And it was a huge feeder promotion for the WWE.
What is it called again?
In fact, you can still go and watch a lot of their matches.
What was it called?
Ohio Valley Wrestling. Mid-South Wrestling. We talked about this a little bit last week. Mid-South Wrestling was in Memphis, Tennessee. It was owned by Bill Watts and Jerry Lawler. And that's where Randy Kaufman did all his stuff. But they had so much stuff go through there. Jimmy Hart, Mouth of the South, was down there.
Here, I found a trailer for it. I want to take a look at this because I don't even know. I've heard of this promotion, but I don't really know much about it. So Hold on one sec.
Are we ready tonight for the best wrestling in Marietta, Ohio, bro?
So they're still doing it, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Doug, you got any predictions for this fight? Pain. Oh, my God. Oh. It's not Jake with Nikolai Volkov at the Washington County Fairgrounds. Oh, Nikolai Volkov with a big left and knocked him out in the ring. Oh, he's powering out. I thought he was asleep. We've got bodies laying out.
Okay, that's pretty fun.
The thing about Ohio Valley is that they would, I mean, literally, it would be like AAA farm team for the Twins.
Okay.
Because they had a reciprocal thing with WWE, and they would just send people down there to work, to rehab, to do whatever.
A-Bombs just gave some 666 for the clown dude. For Doink? You talking about Doink?
The Clown, man.
The Clown, dude.
Also honorable mentions, I meant Mid-South. Honorable mention as well. Stampede Wrestling out of Calgary, Canada, which was owned by Stu Hart and all the Harts, Owen, Bret Hart, were all out of there.
Stampede is the only real honorable mention for me, I guess, because I did look at that and I was like, eh. I guess AEW too. I don't think they made my list. Just too.
And then also on my honorable mention is FCW/NXT, because they're both the same thing.
Sure.
Florida Championship Wrestling turned into NXT, but they're on my honorable mention because so many years. I mean, up until the last year and a half, while they were good, they were literally a developmental promotion.
Sure.
And so I'm not going to put them on my list.
Okay. So that was okay. So that's where we are with that then.
Honorable mentions.
Sure.
You want me to start with 10?
Yeah, let's go with 10. You go 10, and then I'll go 10.
All right. So the 10th best promotion of all time for me, based on the fact that what they meant, is Glow.
Okay.
The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
Sure.
Which was back in the 80s. And a lot of you recognize it from the Netflix series, which is really good, but there actually was a Glow. It put women's wrestling on the map. You know how it is.
That was Moolah's promotion, right?
Oh, it was not.
Okay.
Moolah stayed true to her old school shit. Glow was not Moolah. Glow was a guy. Literally, the first season of Glow on Netflix is based on how it all worked out. And there was a guy that literally had this idea. Now, it was hokey as shit. If you watch the old stuff, is that the reunion picture?
Yeah, this is no, that's from the 80s. That's like one of the 80s pictures.
So somewhere in there, Ivory, she came to be Ivory in the WWE and was a great champion over there for them in the women's division. Ivory was a champion for Glow as well, and I can't pick her out of that picture. Maybe I got her hidden, but Glow. I mean, the fact that they showed that people were interested in watching women wrestling as more than just a novelty, because for many, many years, you'd have guys wrestling and a woman's wrestling match would be a once in a while thing. Like little people wrestling used to be a big deal. And so what Glow did was it showed that there was an actual market to watch women wrestling. Even though the wrestling wasn't great, it was good enough to be entertaining, and they did a bunch of other stuff too. So that's my number 10.
Okay. I feel like this one is the one that I'm going to get the most flack for out of you. And again, I think a lot of it is just me being the age I'm at or whatever, but I have it number 10. And again, I honestly think you're going to give me some blowback on this one. At number 10, I have TNA. And TNA is easily forgotten by a lot of people, but what people forget is that in the early 2000s, it was one of the coolest things that had ever come around. It was like, you had all these like misfit toys that were all there playing, and you got to see all these fantasy matches that you never got to see, and then Hulk Hogan came and it all went to shit. But there is a golden era of TNA, and it's weird. I mean, I guess you can roll it into Impact if you want, but that's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is taking TNA, and I, like, the thing that's so cool is that with TNA, all that shit's still online, so you can go back and watch it all, and I just, like, the thing about TNA was it was just the funnest thing ever in a time where the WCW had lost to WWF or E at that time, and they were coming back around, and this was like... TNA is more important than people let on, because TNA helped lay the groundwork for what would become AEW, for what the formula was for Ring of Honor. It's they let their wrestlers have fun, and you could definitely tell the change in the pendulum when Hogan got there and the ego started getting, and they like their roster. Like what was so crazy is like their early roster is like one of the deepest things you'll ever see in your life. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Let me find the let's see, 2000s.
You had at the same time that you had Hogan and Hall and Nash and Sting, you also had AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. They had the whole Aces and Eights crew.
Check it out. You had Kurt Angle, you had Mick Foley, you had Jeff Hardy, you had Rob Van Dam, you had Steve Borden, who's Sting if you're paying along, huh? AJ Styles, Bobby Rhodes, who I never cared about, James Storm, who's really good, and then like Scott Levy, who is Raven. You had Ken Anderson. You just have like fucking, I mean, like they basically had every misfit toy. You had Jeff Jarrett out there doing work. And then you had fucking Nick Aldis was in there for a while. You had fucking Rhino. I mean, like the Ken Shamrock. Like if you were anybody at any point, like Nash, Flair, Booker T, like if you were anybody in the 90s, you were out of contract, you were wrestling with TNA. And that, again, it was one of the best promotions ever. And this was like why AEW didn't make it on my list, because it really came down to number 10 to AEW or them. And I just could not foresee a way that I could put AEW over TNA, which seems really weird to say right now. But it was just, TNA was so important and so fucking fire when it was going that it's very easy to forget how shit went to shit in like 2010.
Will not. See, here's the thing. I won't give you any crap about it because I did things a little bit differently than you did. And I will be talking about TNA a little bit later.
Well, there you go.
What's that?
All right. Well, I like that then, because I thought for sure that's the one that I would get shit about, because I was like, because it's like the same reason with AEW. Like it wasn't at that upper echelon for a while, but man, that like it was like 4 years. It was something special, and you see that every now and then. Like AEW's got that right now. There's these new promotions that come up, and they just transcend to become something very special, and that's what TNA was. And I feel like that gets lost because the way that they like disintegrated and eventually like turned into Impact, which is not that good anymore. It's just not what it is.
I'll give you a little more argument about that. That they're not as good. They've got a lot of different problems, but I will say this: they're further on my list, and we'll talk about them when we get there.
All right, let's move on to number 9.
Number 9 for me, WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling, out of Texas, owned by the Von Erich family.
Is that the one where like Austin and the Undertaker came out of?
Well, they worked down there, but I don't believe they came. They like comedians have home clubs. I don't want to say that was their home promotion. The Von Erichs, the big one was the Freebirds, came out of WCCW. But the Von Erichs just had this kind of, I mean, all of the kids, and you watch that Dark Side of the Ring about the last living Von Erich.
Tell you the only thing I remember about that promotion was literally the like how cool their belt looked, because they had that giant Texas belt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dope. they did a lot of stuff. They had a lot of firsts. I believe they did a show at the Astrodome. They used to do the Sportatorium all the time, but they did huge some of the bloodiest matches.
Yep.
Because Abdullah the Butcher was down there. I believe that's
the original cut man.
Oh my God! Let me get cut and enjoy some of my Hep 2 or hepatitis C.
Yeah, that's
whatever.
So fucked up.
Whatever.
Like that dude's cutting himself and giving everybody fucking all kinds of
shit. Have some fun. But anyway, they also were one of the when wrestling promotions started getting on cable, they were one of the ones that did. They got on with ESPN back in the 80s, late 80s, so in early 90s. So that's, I mean, for me, just historically, and all the people that they brought out of there, I felt like WCW is at number 9 for me.
Okay. So, my number 9 is actually 2 promotions that ended up like working together enough to where they are, and it's not the 2 that you're thinking of right now as I say that. And this one, like, I don't know how much you know about these, but I'm gonna go with Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling and International Wrestling Association, IWA and FMW. And what they are known for, I don't know if you're familiar with either of those. So what they are known for is the Japanese death matches that like Foley and Funk used to do.
Oh, okay.
And so what they are is they were 2 Japan-based promotions that literally were the ground base for what hardcore wrestling would become. And there was an era, you and I talked about this, like there was an era where hardcore wrestling wasn't like just bloodletting like it is now, you know? But I mean, like the thing about Frontier Wrestling and IWA eventually merged into sister promotions. So like, I think they went under Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling the whole time, but I can't remember which one they changed it to. But the main thing is that they had these death matches and they had all these weird, crazy, like gimmick fights. And the gimmick fights were interesting more so than your regular hardcore wrestling because they would add weird little stuff in it. Like it was like each one had a weird ass little thing, you know, like they had the Funk. I mean, like go back and watch any of the Terry Funk McFoley matches. But I mean, like they had like barbed wire for ropes. They had exploding ropes. They had exploding pads. I mean, they did just about anything they wanted to. And what's really interesting is by today's hardcore wrestling standards, not a lot of bloodletting. Like it just there is blood for sure. It's hardcore wrestling, but it's not like it was never about the like that. I mean, that shit's rad. Like they just kick back, you know, and it's hardcore, and yeah, they're wearing crimson masks, but it's not like today where you see people hitting each other with like fluorescent light tubes and shit. And
yeah,
this promotion would end up being the cornerstone of what hardcore wrestling would become going forward. And I believe that there is at least 2 promotions on my list that would not be there without these 2 promotions. And again, the Terry Funk death matches, all that, it just, you go back and you watch anything from FMW or IWA and you will see death matches. You will see just crazy, weird things that are just awesome. And that's why for me, it was the one that ended up pushing out AEW, I think. Like that was the one where I decided I had to include it. And again, you know, this is because I'm also a giant homer. Specifically those Terry Funk, Mick Foley trilogy matches are just 3 of the craziest shit you'll ever see. And I urge anyone that's into wrestling, even if you don't like hardcore matches, go back and watch like some of these because they're not. One of my favorite ones ever, and it's one of the weirdest ones, you can Google it. They had an anus exploding death match. And it's they literally were trying to stick firecrackers up their opponent's rectum.
Man.
And so that's why they get number 9 for me. And again, like I mean, like glass, fire, barbed wire, thumbtacks, explosives. I mean, like it was just a heinous display of spectacle, and it was back. It really harkened back to the days when wrestling was carny based. So,
yeah.
So that's my number 9.
All right. Move to number 8. Number 8 for me is Ring of Honor.
Okay. So I have Ring of Honor at number 7. So we'll just talk about that right now together, and then we'll move. Like, so when we move to 7, I'll go 8. But yeah, well, let's talk about Ring of Honor.
The Ring of Honor is, and we've talked about it a little bit, by Sinclair Broadcasting, who owns a bunch of stations, and they're ultra conservative television stations.
Yeah, don't they own like most of the radio stations here too?
I don't know about the radio stations. I think they're mostly just television.
Okay.
Thing about it is, they are such an ebb and tide promotion and vital. So much stuff comes out of there and has come out of there. From when I started watching, this was a you don't want to say it was a developmental, because it certainly wasn't. It stood on its own and clearly makes a profit for Sinclair Broadcasting. They won't sell it, but yet they won't promote it. They have the power, if they wanted to make it something huge, but they just won't do it.
Right.
So it harkens back to WCW ran initially. Was it didn't make any difference what was on, it was just on because they could sell commercials in it because people watched it. But Ring of Honor's had so many huge stars go through there. In fact, there are huge stars there still.
Oh, it's a part of Disney, Sinister Mind is saying.
It is.
Ellie Mae is mad because she goes, I suppose I missed the Wrastle P today, huh? Stupid work keeps me busy. Yeah, he did. Sorry.
Go watch it back.
Yeah.
The beginning, sort of. But anyway, and what they've done with really kind of a shoestring budget is nothing short of amazing. And the fact that they've aligned themselves with New Japan, and had all of this ongoing stuff with New Japan that kind of elevated them within the wrestling community. It's, for a wrestling fan, they're huge. For a casual fan, not so much, because it's like you run into it and you don't know what it is. And of course, right now they're like everybody is. They're in kind of a tough spot because they're just running best ofs. But I will say, and I was going to bring this up, in New Japan, there's a wrestler called Evil, which everybody should love. But he just became a 3-belt holder last
Is that
week.
the first time that's happened?
And
I've never seen that before.
I haven't either. So he has the IGPW heavyweight and intercontinental championships, as well as I think it's a 3-man tag belt. It's either that or a tag team belt, but he has them all, and it's kind of amazing. But we'll talk about New Japan as we go on. But the fact that ROH was a sponsor of the first All In, because Cody and the Bucks were with them at the time that happened. And let's be honest, if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be an AEW. So that's the reason that they're on at number 8 for me.
Okay, so I will talk about this. So Ring of Honor was number 7 for my, right? And I think the reason that they're 7 and 8 respectively with both of us is very, very the similar reasons. I mean, like, basically everything you just said, I agree with. The other thing I will say that I feel like you didn't mention is, I feel like if we were doing this list 8 months ago, Ring of Honor might have been 4 or 5 on my list. I think that the thing that's really interesting about Ring of Honor, and it's kind of, I mean, Ring of Honor laid down the formula in the modern era of how you interact with wrestlers in sister promotions. The way that they aligned with New Japan, it just nothing short of amazing. And the way that they, when the ship was sinking, when AEW came out and the ship was sinking, I mean, they were fucked. They were losing everybody. And they had the foresight to just throw all the money at Marty Scurll, who is like the only ace they have. I mean, Marty Scurll, like, every promotion around the world has 1 or 2 people in their roster who could be the best of all. Like, if you took everybody, like if there was a NFL, right? and you took like all the other promotions or your CFL, your other different things, almost every promotion has a guy that could make it into the NFL, right? And that's always kind of been the case on the indie circuit, you know? And I think like what Ring of Honor did with Skrull is they recognized, okay, we have this ace. But the other thing that people don't talk about is while they were going through that collapse, they also made him the head booker. And that's something that a lot of people don't know. And the foresight of that is the only reason why they're weathering the storm, as it were, you know, and that's important to notate. And I think that if, the way that they promoted, Cody Rhodes wouldn't be the AEW guy without Ring of Honor, and Bubba Ray Dudley might be done at this point. I mean, they embrace something important, and almost everything that I like about AEW, you can find shadow remnants of it in Ring of Honor. So to not have them included in this list, I think would be grossly underappreciated, and they edged up to 7 for me. My number 8 is another Japanese promotion, All Japan Pro Wrestling. And I really like indie wrestling. That's what I got passionate about. All Japan Pro Wrestling, well, it's not the best wrestling promotion out of Japan. It was firmly established in the mid 70s. It's still rocking, and it's something that it's like if New Japan Wrestling is WWE, then All Japan Wrestling is WCW. You know, it's the 1 and 2 with a bullet. And the way that All Japan Pro Wrestling got in there would be no other real Japanese promotion without them. There might be New Japan, maybe, but that's it. You wouldn't get any of the runoffs. I mean, even the ones that I was naming before, the hardcore ones, they literally, they wouldn't be there without that. You know, it's important to pay homage to the people that came before, but in the 90s specifically, and that's when I was a kid, they were at their peak. They were at the height of their power. And I remember they had people like Vader, they had the Dynamite Kid, they had all these misfit toys, kind of like what TNA was doing. But then they had it's like if TNA had an entire roster of world beaters that were in their prime coming. If TNA in its prime also had the roster for NXT, that's what All Japan Pro Wrestling was in the 90s. And even though it's not that anymore, I think it might not even be the 3rd best promotion in Japan anymore, but it's so important, and it's been there since the 70s, and it's still going strong. So that's why it made it onto my list as number 8. So, and then number 7 was Ring of Honor, which we already discussed. What's your number 7?
My number 7 is TNA/Impact.
Okay.
I did roll them together.
Okay, so I like that. I think if you roll them together, they get higher on the list. My whole thing was I didn't really know how to package it, and I was because Impact is okay, but without TNA, that early TNA, man. So go ahead, talk about Impact and TNA. Go ahead, for you.
Well, I was gonna say the early TNA, when Jeff Jarrett first formed it, because he was pissed. It was good, and it was something. And it definitely also had ebbs and tides. The whole
you know what we used to call Jeff Jarrett when I was a kid? We used to call him the honky tonk lad. All the time. That's what we used to refer to him as.
Love it. But, now my head. See, this is what happens when I get old. I try to think of too much stuff. Who was the woman that was the owner?
Oh, I don't know.
Of TNA. Screwed Billy Corgan. Anyway. Oh God, I just wish. I'm not going to look it up. The point being that they had ebbs and tides as well, and they had, when Hogan got in there was a bit of a shitty shit, but then Aces and Eights was a huge thing as well. With the Dudleys and Briscoe. Wes Briscoe was part of that my buddy Ace is pals with. That was a huge thing. And tons of people loved that. But anyway, as they moved and were sold, there's a whole, you can go look it up.
Dixie
the whole
Carter.
thing
It's
where-
Dixie Carter.
Dixie Carter. That's right. She's an idiot, but ended up getting a hold of the reins of the thing and sort of running it into the ground, and then Vince Russo got involved, which to be honest was more a detriment than Hogan, because Vince Russo's not really a wrestling. I mean, he wrote a bunch of shit. He did some stuff that was good, but most of the stuff that he did was not true to wrestling. But then some of the wrestlers took it over. There was a whole thing. They did the whole name change because TNA was viewed as a not maybe the best name. And now as Impact, they have a good promotion. They have good wrestlers. They're doing good stuff. The biggest problem is that it's hard to watch it because it's on Access or AXS network. Now, I don't know about you. I don't have AXS network because I watch on YouTube TV.
Well, and it goes on YouTube like the
so
week
that isn't
after.
on there. AXS, if I remember correctly, is only like on DirecTV. So it becomes very, very difficult to watch. You have to see, and that's one of the things with some of these promotions that makes it hard for them. The best thing about wrestling from its inception was it was on TV because it was something to put on TV. You know, from back in the days when they would wrestle in studio in the 50s, it was there because they needed something to watch. It's on Comcast. Well, I don't have it, but good. It's still on there. But they put it on there and it just progressed that way. TV, it was on, it was something that people would watch and they didn't have to think about it. Now it's like when it's work to go find a wrestling promotion, it's like, could be good, but you know, you've got to get a real good recommendation to go and hunt something down. So anyway, but they're still doing good business. They've got a lot of good people there. They get rated just like ROH does. Not recently because WWE, but this goes back onto WWE trying to buy everybody out. So there is no competition.
Sure.
So there's a huge list and all the people, and for all the reasons that you talked about further back down the line. That's my 7.
Okay.
Oh, and then I should probably, because you already talked about your 7, right?
Yeah. No, we're on to 6.
6 for me was AWA from right here in Minneapolis.
Okay.
Um,
So here we have
and-
another case where AWA is my number 5. So
Okay.
we will do the same thing where we will talk about AWA right now, and then I will do 6, and then we'll move on to 4.
All right. AWA for me was very, very important. Gagne was for wrestling. He was also good. He had probably by area the largest territory of any other wrestling promotion. He did from Chicago to the West Coast. And of course it had skirt around other places like Denver and whatnot, but he had probably the biggest one. He would do shows up in Winnipeg, all over the place. Point being, he had so many stars that developed out of there, and he was such a good trainer, and trained these guys how to do it the right way. The list of Hall of Fame wrestlers that came through the AWA is freaking amazing.
Yeah,
Obviously,
their
Hulk
roster
Hogan.
is crazy. I mean, like
You got Hulk Hogan. You got Ric Flair.
Mr. Perfect.
Mr. Perfect. Well, of course, Mr. Perfect is a second generation. His father, Larry, was a huge name in the AEW or AWA. God damn it! See, too many letters.
They had the Von Erichs in there too, right?
Yes. The Road Warriors
Yep.
were
Maybe the greatest tag team of all time.
Yeah, and the second coming for the AWA, to be honest. But of course, Ventura was there. Heenan was there.
Wasn't Shawn
Mean
Michaels
Gene
there too?
Michael was there, but not
He wasn't
as a.
he wasn't Shawn Michaels, but he
as a
wrestled
long
there. Yeah. Oh, Arn Anderson too. Arn Anderson was huge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Arn Anderson was from up there. My God, Iron Sheik.
Dusty Rhodes, right?
Well, Dusty Rhodes wrestled up there, but it wasn't his home.
Okay.
That's the thing you have to remember about when it was still territory based.
Everybody
Guys that were big stars in Territory X would work a program there 8-9 months and then move to another territory 8-9 months, and then they just rotate around the country. The guys that were really big names, like a Dusty. Flair, when he was the NWA champion, would go around to different promotions. Harley Race is the one you really want to look at, and Jack Briscoe.
And Baron von Raschke, I remember him being in there. I'm looking at
Baron von Raschke was awesome. You had so many guys. You had the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, who became the Beverly Brothers in WWE. They were always one of my favorites because I can't remember each of them, but one of them would never let the guy talk. You know, they'd do a duo. They'd be there for a duo interview, and the guy would say, and these are not the correct names. So the guy would say, "Hey, Bill, what do you think about this match?" And the other guy would go, "I'll take this one, Bill." And it was a running deal that they did, and he never let the other guy talk, and it was fantastic. But just so much, and they got on to ESPN when things were rough. They did all sorts of different attempts to keep up with WWE. They did a combo pay-per-view with Jim Crockett that sort of turned, but that was to try to combat WrestleMania. So a lot of the things that Vern did were crappy, but I mean, he was in there scratching, and he kept that promotion alive for a very, very long time. Part of it's due to the fact that Nick Bockwinkel was such a fantastic heel and a perfect foil for whoever he put on. The downfall of AWA for me, and I think for a lot of other people, was once Vern allowed the belt to be taken off of himself, he started inserting his kid in there. And his kid was, I mean, he didn't have any of the charisma or skill to be a champion. And I think that when you had other people, Mad Dog Vachon, good God, Crusher, of course. You had the Killer Bees, Brunzell and the other one were from here. So
that was his intro. The other one.
This is the problem for me. I can remember bits and pieces. Or whatever it is to keep brain power. Or maybe not have as many donuts with liquor in them. Okay. But anyway, point being, just on strength of roster alone, they're on my list. And I think important enough to be at 6.
Okay, so I had them at 5 for all the reasons you stated, but again, just because of all the big star power and how they went about doing everything. My number 6 was actually National Wrestling Alliance. And I know it didn't get on your list, and I guess like the argument for it not being a real promotion is valid, I guess. But I mean, like, you're talking the Four Horsemen, Dusty Rhodes, Sting, Lex Luger. Those are just the top ones that they're the ones that they claim. And I'm not saying they originate or there, but like the 10 ounce of gold and the way that it got, I think that the way it got rebooted plays into it as well, because now you have to give it the credit of being longevity, even though it's kind of fucked right now. But in an echelon of best of promotions, if you're going over everything, I just don't see a way you can leave it out. So it's number 6.
I'll explain it to you soon.
All right. That's ominous.
You want me to explain it to you now?
Well, we're on. When do you explain it? What number?
5.
Okay, well, we're on 5 now. Go.
5 for me is WCW, in parentheses, Turner. All right? Because, and when I get to 3, I'll talk about it a little
You
bit
mean
more.
4. We're on 4.
On 4?
Yep.
We're on 5.
We just did 5.
I haven't talked about WCW yet at all.
Well, we did 5. Wait, okay. So wait, we missed one. Okay, so go back and what was your 6?
My 6 was AWA. You didn't talk about your 6 yet.
Oh yeah. It was my 5.
AWA was your 5.
NWA was my. So we're on your 6. My 5 and 6 are gone. We're on your 5 now.
Okay, so my 5 is WCW, in parentheses, Turner. In what year was it? 1985, I believe. Ted Turner actually bought WCW from Jim Crockett Promotions, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later. So when you talk about the NWA and them originating the Four Horsemen, etc., it wasn't. It was, and I'll get up to it in 3, but it was WCW. It was Georgia Championship Wrestling, which wasn't NWA. It was Jim Crockett Promotions, which wasn't NWA. They were affiliated with the NWA. They were part of the NWA, but the NWA itself was literally, like I said at the beginning, it's just kind of an alliance that they all the territories that were involved worked together.
Sure.
And so that's why I wouldn't have it on list. But anyway, WCW with Turner, obviously, for so many reasons, they're the promotion that really gave WWF a run for their money after Vince had literally killed the business, other than for himself. Ran everybody else out of business but Ted Turner. And the story about it's fabled Black Saturday is when the Briscoe brothers sold their shares of Georgia Championship Wrestling to Vince McMahon, and then he came down and owned that Saturday night show, and started, instead of the wrestling that people were used to watching on TBS, he started doing, it wasn't live studio, it was all like a taped highlight show, and nobody liked it, and the backlash was huge. I mean, intense. And what happened was, because they were used to the live stuff, right? Sure. They were used to the studio stuff. If you go back and watch Gordon Soley, who was a legendary broadcaster, would do the shows, it was just like the NWA that you see today. It was just like that. There was a studio audience. It wasn't huge, and that's what people were used to watching, and they liked it. When McMahon came on with this thing, and he called it World Championship Wrestling or whatever it was, what happened was he started showing, Gorilla Monsoon was a commentator, and Freddie Miller was as well, and Freddie Miller was with TBS and Georgia Championship. He was the only holdover. They started showing the more cartoony stuff that the WWF was doing at the time, you know, and people just didn't like it. They didn't like the fact that, who are these Northerners coming down here and taking over our wrestling? I think it was like, I'd have to look it up, but I think it was like March, the first week of March, that they started doing it, and it took about 4 weeks, and Vince said, boy, this is not going great. And he ended up selling it to Turner. So basically he had the time slot on WTBS, and he sold it back to Turner, or actually he sold it to Jim Crockett Productions for $1 million. Back then that was huge money. But that he was on, because his his standard operating procedure was he would go in and try to buy the television spaces where other promotions were doing their stuff and put his stuff on there. I mean, talk about, when they talk about he doesn't like to counter program, well, that's been his forte for as long as he's been in wrestling.
Right.
So anyway, and then of course that all happens. You got a time period there where you got the Four Horsemen, you got the Russian guys, Ivan and Nikita Koloff, you got Magnum TA, you got all of this stuff. They're all kind of involved. And then for whatever reason, Eric Bischoff gets hired to be the general manager, executive producer. And I don't remember how long it was, but then he hires Hogan. And then he hires all these other, Mean Gene. Mean Gene was a huge get for him. And he hires Heenan. Heenan hated it down there because you can read the shit. Bobby Heenan absolutely goddamn hated WCW, which is one of the reasons it's always fun for me to say people when he almost gives away, oh, who's the third man? It's Hulk Hogan. He gives it away, I think partially because he's like,
yeah, he definitely no-sold it.
Point being, went through and of course, promotion in the U.S. For 83 weeks, they had the highest ratings, and that in and of itself is huge. They're the only wrestling promotion that actually sort of scared Vince McMahon, and if you watch anything about the Monday Night Wars, really almost put them out of business. And they could have if they'd done a couple of things differently. But their downfall is what a lot of people remember. Very tumultuous. They were at the highest high, and then they went to the lowest low.
Yeah, they did not die out as a promotion very well.
Oh, they did not. But anyway, that's why WCW is at 5 for me.
I think we missed one. Jeez, this list is skipping over. I think it's 4, right?
We're on 4 now.
Okay. Oh, because I already did my 5. I got you. My number 4 is ECW. And anybody that knows me knows that ECW is that's the one that resonated with me the most as a kid. It's what drove my appetite for independent wrestling. It was a pioneer. I mean, like it got so big that they got bought out. Like they were literally, even though they were on the way down, like the WWE saw them as enough threat when they were trying to sign that new contract for like the Sci-Fi Channel that WWE just bought them. And then relaunched it as a brand. So like they launched ECW. People forget like this whole like Nitro Raw like war. Once the WWE won, they basically kept doing these wars like they're doing it now still. You know, your SmackDowns versus Raw. And this all is the prototype of what they did. And this is it's all the brainchild of Todd Gordon, who a lot of people don't know, but Paul Heyman, who a lot of people do know. And it was based out of Philadelphia. It just showcased so many different styles. Like no matter what you were into, like you would watch it, and one of them would be a like Falls Count Anywhere match. I mean, tables, ladders, and chairs is from there. Like all the stuff that would become what hardcore wrestling was specifically in the WWE. So like when WWE says they had like King of Hardcore and those matches, they weren't hardcore by the Japanese standards. They weren't hardcore by any hardcore standards. They were just a little bit more hardcore than the polished product that the WWE was putting out at the time. And it was easily, they came in a world where WWF and WCW were strangling everything. And they just etched away their way into a number 3 spot pretty consistently from 92 to 96, probably. Like they were easily the number 3. And you could make the argument that some weeks they were bigger than WCW. But the main thing was like the way they did their alliances after the promotion died, the way that they had the referees only including like counting pinfalls and acknowledging submissions and upholding rope breaks. That was something that no ref had done. That was like, that's a thing that like they brought to it that now everybody is doing. The way, like before in old school wrestling, the ref was mainly there to like talk to somebody to see if they got really hurt and they needed to fucking get out of there. That's what it was. But it was,
Tell them it was time to be done.
right. And I mean, like, you look at some of the early 70s and 80s wrestling, and like, they're not even wearing pinstripes. They're just in jeans and a polo. That's how insignificant the fucking ref was. And ECW, and I think because Paul Heyman refed some of those, they really cemented what a ref could be. And these are just their like, every ECW show would have a different weird thing. Like, three-way dances was them, barbed wire matches, like Jeopardy steel cage, coronavirus. It just, Heyman was a awesome dude, and they decided that they wanted to go to Monday, and that was terrible, and they were the first real victim of the Monday Night War, but they stood in the pocket, stood pat with their things, and that's why for me they get to number 4.
I have them at number 3.
Okay.
For the same reasons you talk about, for the fact that they were the Attitude Era.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. They were the ones that broke through what the Attitude Era would be. They're just like ECW will never get the credit it's deserved. And there are a bunch of great, I mean, like, think of how many wrestling fans have no idea who Sabu is. Like that, I mean, like, that guy's a prick, sure, but he was one of the best wrestlers of his time. Tommy Dreamer, too. These are people that not a lot of people know. Blue Meanie, you know, I mean, I guess they do now, but like...
Blue Meanie, Sandman.
Yep. You know, and then you also had, I mean, Terry Funk was it. You also had a stable of rotation. I mean, like, that's the promotion, I believe, where New Jack almost killed that dude. I mean, like, there was all kinds of weird shit, and it was just so important.
A lot of people don't realize that Steve Austin was there.
Yep.
ECW for many reasons. It was that notch above, and it sure as hell wasn't cartoonish, which WWF was at the time. When ECW was in its heyday, typically my watching habits were I was a WCW guy first, and then an ECW guy, and then WWF last. Only because at the time it was like, you know, again, we've talked about it. Doink the Clown, all the fucking, the Red Rooster, all the fucking garbage mix that the Repo Man, all of it. Yeah, the gobbledygooker.
Yeah, gobbledygooker. That's goddamn. That's the worst thing ever.
It's just they're just
JJ. Yeah, he was stunning Steve Austin when he was in ECW.
Yeah, that's right.
Blitz and Frills. That's pretty accurate. It's yeah, I mean it was a very important promotion, and I could that's the thing that's always weird about making these lists to me, is because I really try to take out my favorite, you know? And I think if I was just going by favorites, ECW would be way higher up, but I just don't see how you can't include them in the top 5.
I agree with you 100%. And so they're at my number 3, but my number 4 is New Japan.
Okay.
And my number 4, New Japan, is simply because so many people have gone there and learned and improved themselves so much.
Sure.
Everybody from Hulk Hogan all the way to AJ Styles, Gallows and Anderson, we talked about a little bit earlier. I mean, New Japan, the disservice is that it's a promotion that's very, very hard to watch here. They were on Access for a while with Jim Ross was doing commentary for him, which really helped a lot.
Seems like same thing with like AEW. Like when Jim Ross does commentary for you, like there's something about like he's the voice of wrestling. Like I feel like when AEW got Jim Ross, there's like this weird like legitimizing thing when you're like, you know, like everybody's wrestling memories as a kid involve oh my God, King, you know, or whatever it is. Like there are so many like I think he killed him. Like there's so many like like crazy narrative, like just voice. Like there's something. It's like when you see an announcer that's not Bruce Buffer. You know what I mean? Like you're just like, what's happening here? And JR is the quintessential thing, and I think that's decent. I got New Japan a little high up, but we'll talk about that. My number 3. So that was your number 3?
That was my number 4, and ECW was my number 3.
Okay, so my number 3 was WCW, right?
Right.
But I decided to cross promote it, and here's why. So WCW would be lower down on the list, right? Except for it was the second best product mainstream most of my childhood, and you could like they would show WCW wrestling at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon, Monday through Friday on a syndicated channel where I grew up, right? So what I used to do is I used to run off the bus and I would just sit down and I would watch WCW, and it's I mean Ricky Steamboat, Sting, like that era back in the day, and anybody that knows me knows my favorite wrestler is Mick Foley. That's where I found Cactus Jack. You know what I mean? It was just like, and then I went back and just changed my life. And I think that WCW, with the way they fizzled out, I would have buried them way deeper on my list, but I actually entered them in at number 3 as WCW/NWO. And I just think NWO was such an important thing for wrestling. Yeah, bang, bang. It literally made it so the wars happened. There's very few moments in time where you can point to and say wrestling wouldn't be where it was if not for this event. And I just think NWO, specifically the Outsiders, I mean, obviously it got a little tired at the end, but like that was the kickstart that jumped. And even WWF was parodying them with the Click at the time, which became D-Generation X. But like the whole thing was like the NWO was the quintessential pivot move. And ECW had started it a little more, but NWO was where the Attitude Era just got traction and became the thing that the fans wanted to see. We wanted to see Nitro versus Raw. We wanted to see all this shit. And I just think that it's what it is. So they ended up at my number 3. So
well, I'm gonna go back to my number 4 a minute because of your and my number 2 is Jim Crockett Productions promotions.
okay, I like
And
that.
it's again here's why it is. I'm first going to say that the NWO, going back to why New Japan is important, the NWO was stolen from New Japan. That gimmick was something they did.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Jim Crockett Promotions. Jim Crockett, man, had a huge reach, and it was based out of Charlotte, but he in the main one he had was Mid-Atlantic. But he had stuff all over the place in the East. He had stuff in Ohio. It all didn't have a fancy name. It was just like World Championship Wrestling. I mean, you know, or whatever it was. But it was all under his banner. And he was the one that ended up after Georgia Championship Wrestling had some turmoil. He was the one that WCW was basically prior to on WTBS for many, many years. And that was where Ric Flair really found a home, even though he was up at the AWA. He really found a home down in Charlotte. The Four Horsemen came out of there. Ricky Steamboat came out of there. Roddy Piper really kind of made his name there, even though he had fought all over the country. But it was a good place, and he was basically the guy that was running the NWA as the alliance. So he was a very powerful promoter. And as I go back, he was more important than Vern Gagne was back in the day. And he had, I mean, literally, he had the first cable show for wrestling. It was between him and Vince. Vince was on Madison, the MSG, which was the Madison Square Garden channel. That's the first place I got to watch it.
Madison Square Garden channel?
MSG it was called. You know, here's the thing. Well, and I'll give you just a little bit of history. back when my family got cable, it wasn't on all the time. I don't mean it was faulty. I mean the programming. The ESPN was only on
Yeah,
like
I remember like MTV and Comedy Central when they expanded. Like at like 12, they would just end and play like commercials.
Yeah, they had ESPN had computer graphics that ran from about 11 o'clock at night or midnight until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was because we didn't sit around and watch TV all day. But the point being that back then WTBS was one of the biggest. You had WTBS, you had WGN. They were the biggest cable networks that people were able to watch that had alternative programming to the national networks. MSG was kind of a side channel, and WWE didn't really pop until they got on the USA Network, which back then was not nearly as big as WTBS. WTBS was huge, and Jim Crockett Promotions was running that show. There was Saturday night, and they had a show on Sunday afternoon as well. So and all the guys that went through there, I mean, basically we're talking about everybody again, with few exceptions. Hogan, Savage, Undertaker was down there with a different gimmick. He wasn't the Undertaker down there.
Was he still Big Red, or what was he down there?
I can't remember what he was. It was something stupid.
It wasn't like Calloway was WCW, right?
I think so, yeah. Nash was down there prior as some kind of goddamn genie. Triple H was down there for a while. And just there just were so many guys down there in that prior to when Bischoff took it over. As you mentioned, Cactus Jack was down there. Just so many guys. But anyway, that's why for me, historically, Jim Crockett Promotions is going to be at my number 2.
Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready for this controversial juice? I think you know what I'm gonna do. I think you deep down inside know. So we're at number 2, right? My number 2, and I'm gonna get all the heat for this, is the WWE. And that's a tough sell, but I will explain it when I get to 1. Obviously, we all know WWF, WWE. Like it's the thing that is the workhorse. It's easily the most successful. It is the greatest by terms of making money. That is not what I graded this entire thing on. I had to go by best of all time, and they don't get there. And I will explain that at 1. And if you've been paying attention, you already know who it is. But the reality is that it doesn't get much better than WWF, but it was easier for me to drop them down to number 2 because of their just horrific performance for 10 years now? I mean, when was the last time the WWE was must-see TV? I mean, you could argue it was all the way back during the Monday Night Wars. I mean, after the wars, everybody decided they won, but what they did when they were acquiring all these things, like the WWE kind of fucked up because they acquired all these things, and then they watered down each of their brands till eventually, instead of having 2 kick-ass shows and 1 mediocre show, they went to having 7 mediocre shows. And if they don't do that, and at this point running themselves ragged like that, I just can't justify putting them at number 1 for me. So they sit at number 2. And I know it's a big controversial thing. I think that the no-brainer is that WWF would be number 1, but they are number 2 on my list.
Well, and I certainly understand it, and I'm not going to make stink about it because the reasons that you bring up are absolutely valid. I look back.
I mean, I feel like WWE might be responsible for more people stopping watching wrestling than bringing people in at this point.
Well, but see, there's a difference because they had to build that audience to start with. They innovated so many things. They really innovated the pay-per-view, although the argument can be made that that pay-per-views as a whole were based on the old closed circuit model, which they were doing. As you recall, there was a match between Andre the Giant and Muhammad Ali. Maybe you don't remember that.
I do.
That was, you do, yeah. So they were doing that kind of stuff. They've TV. When Hogan was at his hottest, right after the Thunder Lips with Rocky 3, and they were able to parlay that into more pop culture popularity. That was huge. We talked about WrestleMania 1 being a big deal. It was a tag. I mean, the main event was a tag team. People don't remember that. They remember the first WrestleMania being huge, but it wasn't the big deal. The big deal was on MTV. And they did such a great job that people followed and watched the WrestleMania. WrestleMania 2, not great. WrestleMania 3, of course, historic. But all of those things that they did, the way that Vince took everything over, brutal. And to his defense, I mean, people that worked there were paid well, but not as well as WCW, because the purse strings were way open there. But all of the things he did, and I agree with you for many reasons, because he turned the product to garbage, and he turned the product to garbage, to be honest, before the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah, well, I think the Monday Night Wars, it was already happening, but it was like just the resolution of what was to come. You know what I mean? Like it was that. I mean, so,
but I mean, in terms of he had already cartooned it up.
Yeah,
that's what opened the door for WCW to do what they did. But I mean, you remember Tuesday Night Titans?
Yeah, I do actually.
You ever see that?
I haven't watched
Tuesday Night Titans with Vince McMahon and Lord Alfred Hayes, and it was like the Tonight Show for wrestling. And I'll be honest with you, man, that was must-see TV for me back then in the 80s. I loved the crap out of it because I got to see the wrestlers in doing different stuff. And literally they'd come and sit in the couch and do. So all of this stuff that he innovated, some of it that he stole,
most.
And well, let's be honest. I mean, it's really hard to not have them at number one.
I agree. Is that, did you have them number one? Is that your number one?
That was my number one.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I'm going to make a case with my number one, but I understand people will always put WWF as number one. I get that. And you should if we're going by profit, because I mean, profit margin is not even close, right? Like to anything. So, all right. So who's your number two then, if that was your number one?
Number two was Jim Crockett Promotions.
Okay. So then just go. So we're done with your list, right? Okay. Here we go, guys. All right. This is going to be a hard one, but here we go. My number one is a little promotion out of Georgia. No, I'm just kidding. I put New Japan Pro Wrestling number one. There's no way that I couldn't. And it's so funny because this one was the one that I just kept looking at. And I was like, man, am I really about to bury WWE like that? Because again, common convention is that WWE, WWF is the biggest promotion. It's the best. And I'm not even talking about hot garbage that it's been the last 10, 15 years. I mean, just over the span of it, right? But I think people don't understand that if you like modern wrestling, if you are under the age of shit, how old are people born in the 70s now?
Oh shit. 40?
Sure. So if
50?
you are 50, so let's say 10. So if you're under the age of we'll say 50. You have not interacted with a wrestling product that has not taken from New Japan Wrestling. You've not interacted with it. It's not happened. Because New Japan Wrestling is it's this stalwart thing. And it's so funny because people talk about what gets stolen from New Japan all the time, but they also talk about how a lot of the stuff that they do wrong, people avoid. So it almost becomes the beta testing for what would go on to become modern wrestling. And when it's when I put ECW up there. The reason that ECW is there is not necessarily its product, but the influence it had on everything around it. And New Japan, to me, has to be, and again, everybody can disagree with me. That's fine. I feel like this is the right decision. I mean, you're talking about a promotion that's been around for 45 years now, maybe 50. Like, I mean, it's like 72. It started, like, this promotion started before Vince McMahon even took over WWE. That's how long it's been around. And it's still relevant. It's still as big. I mean, Wrestle Kingdom is still as big of an event as always. And the thing about New Japan is that they're not just national, they're worldwide. Every single person in the world that is a hardcore wrestling fan has watched some New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I just don't think that's the case with a lot of other stuff. If you get outside of the US, like, yes, WWE might be the only exception, but all the other promotions we're talking about, nobody knows, nobody's interacted. Like in Japan, there's 17 of them. So that's what people are interacting with. But the reality is that if you look at their roster, you look at what they did, you cannot find a name in almost any promotion that didn't cut their teeth at some point in New Japan Wrestling. I mean, it's the most important thing that's ever happened to wrestling as far as the stuff they're doing. And it's when you look at their all-time roster, they have the best all-time roster because they have the all-time bests from every single promotion since the 70s. Because every professional wrestler wants to go to Japan. They just want to do that. And when you're in Japan, you might as well work. And when you're going to work, you might as well work for the best Japanese promotion ever. So they have had, I mean, and again, like Mick Foley was there for a while, like Funk. I mean, like Vader's character of who Vader is was made in New Japan, you know? And it's a hard decision to put them number one over WWE. It really was. But I stand by it. And I mean, there's so many different things that like I can point to. Like one, in the 70s, New Japan was marketing themselves as not PG wrestling. From the very beginning, they were not catering to children. They were catering at all of the people that were mid-adults that liked wrestling. And that's huge. I mean, that alone is something. Their tournaments actually matter. They have round-robin tournaments that matter. Every other promotion in the history of anything is just doing a parody of the Royal Rumble, which we all know doesn't fucking matter. What do you get for winning the Royal Rumble? You get a title shot. You don't even get the fucking title. It doesn't matter. Their round robin like things actually matter. Every megastar made their name. And then the other thing is the way that, so we can talk about what the other promotions steal from New Japan because it's a plethora of lists. NWO got mentioned already. NWO was created in New Japan and it was taken from them and used again. With wrestling, stealing happens. It's not that big of a thing, right? But the thing about it is like they have so many just ideas that are just crazy. I mean, it's fucking crazy. But what's really interesting to me, and I'll talk about the stuff that like everybody takes from them. But what's interesting is watching how everybody avoided them. The one thing that they avoided is when need of water. When New Japan started to gain traction, one of the things they started, and this is like their heyday was probably 90s, 2000s. They're still like they're coming down a little bit, but like they're still like their powerhouse days were the 90s and the 2000s. They're still a big name. They're still, in my opinion, the most powerful. But they used to have a habit, and they started doing it, of too many meaningless matches. And when that started to get called out, you watched TNA, WWE, and I'm not sure who the other major one was at that time in the early 2000s. But what they did is all of those companies started cutting out the number of meaningless matches they had. If you remember when we were kids, it was not uncommon to see 15 matches in an hour program. That wasn't uncommon. Now you're looking at usually it's 5. And that's something that they directly learned from New Japan because one of the things that got them dead was literally how many. The other thing they did is they're the ones that started the factions. NWO, all that stuff created there. But when they first created it, they had way too many of them. And that's where companies like Ring of Honor came in and they took like Bullet Club and like Elite Club, like all the what is Honor Club? Is it Honor and Bullets Club, I forget, whatever. But they,
yeah.
but even like NWA or NWO, the D-Generation X, these are all gaining from the idea that they were stealing the factions, but they were playing down how many they used. And that's the thing that I think New Japan doesn't get enough credit for, is how they're out there innovating as well as dominating. You can pick up any New Japan Pro Wrestling anytime, and you will find one of the best matches you've ever seen in that show. Every single time. Now, you might find 80% of filler that's just whatever, but that's just how it is. The other thing is that they were like one of the first people to start avoiding title changes on DQ and countout matches. They were like, so back when you had like Broiler Room Brawls and all the Attitude Era stuff, New Japan used to have so many countouts and DQs change the title. They were the first people to be like, that doesn't do it anymore. They also had a bunch of overly long main events that eventually got everybody down to how they are now. So the modern formula of 5 matches is a direct representation of New Japan going too far. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, the stuff they steal, people don't, like, it's not just about what they steal. It's about what they learn from the promotion and how it makes the overall product better. The other one is like how they handled their tag team division. They watered down their tag team division. They split it up into like 18 different factions, and everybody fucking hated it. And that's something that you saw Ring of Honor specifically, because they were faction based, but they cut the faction formula down. And Ring of Honor being a sister promotion with them, New Japan is like, hey, don't do this. We wish we hadn't done this. And that's part of the thing that made Ring of Honor on this list. I don't think Ring of Honor gets there. Like there are at least 4 or 5 promotions I can point to on my list that I don't believe would make it onto my list without New Japan. And that's why it gets number 1 for me. And then now the stuff that has been taken. So New Japan was one of the first ones to make the title matches just about the title. They never overly promoted it. It was about the belt switching places, and they did it at the end of the shows. That format was them. Another thing that's starting to be stolen now, but I think will be stolen by everybody, is press conferences. New Japan was like the first promotion to have actual press conferences around the wrestling, and it's such an interesting demographic that everybody stole it. Like the famous Hogan Flair, where they're signing the contract and talking, that is like in the office. Every time you see in the office, every time you see behind the stage, that is all New Japan glaring through. And that's every promotion.
The media scrum AEW has taken from them.
Yes, the media scrum, the paper, all of it. And then this is the other one that I thought was interesting, is how they have other championships headline their shows. They were one of the first people to do this. Not a lot of people remember this, and you'll probably remember it because you're a little bit older than me. Wrestling for a long time was your heavyweight champion defends his belt as the last match. That was the formula from like the beginning all the way through the mid-90s, when New Japan stopped doing that. It's almost unheard of even today that the title isn't a WWE Championship or the Universal title to headline their pay-per-view. I don't know the last pay-per-view they had where those 2 belts weren't on the line. And that's all how it is. Whereas New Japan, and this is where AEW gets it from, because they're borrowing it from, like, New Japan got robbed blind by Ring of Honor and AEW. And I'm not even mad about it. It made AEW better. AEW is the best wrestling ticket on the planet. And I guarantee you, if you had Jericho and you cornered him and asked him, he would tell you that they're standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
And Japan, the other thing Japan likes to do is they often split their shows over several nights, so it gives other titles the chance to close things out. And in the past few years alone, you see both AEW and Ring of Honor adopting this, and I bet honestly the WWE is not far behind, because this is just the new thing. You've never seen a junior heavyweight like open weight or United States heavyweight or intercontinental titles at main shows ever in the WWE, and that's just not something that they do. And then the other thing is round robin tournaments, which we talked a little bit. Like, the way that they do their tournaments matters, and you see AEW is already establishing that with some of their tournaments that they've been trying to do. And it's just everything that they did wrong, people avoided. Everything that they did right, people stole since the 70s. I don't know how you can do that. And then the most important one that New Japan pioneered is how they work with other promotions. The modern day alliances that are seen with some of the promotions on the circuit in America are direct results of New Japan. There is no Ring of Honor without New Japan doing their sister show and their promotion pay-per-views where they had the like G2 dual events. Those are some of the best. So for me, and again, I know I'm going to catch all the flack for that. I get it. But when you go through all the intangibles, for me, I just don't see a way that New Japan is not the best wrestling promotion of all time.
Case, and I think for me, the hard part about this is that the criteria becomes very different for each promotion.
I agree.
You know, we all had them on. We all had promotion on for various different reasons. We agreed on a ton of them.
Well, I think that's the thing. Is you and I disagreed on position, but our top 10s are pretty similar. Like, I think you had the Davy Crockett one, and I had the IWA. You know what I mean? Like, they were otherwise they were pretty identical. Just the spottings were different.
Yeah. And I think, you know, that's the hard part, because for me, I'm looking at history, and I'm not saying this about anything at all. I'm just saying in terms of the entire list. I tried to look at it as popularity, history, innovation, and to be honest, longevity.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that AEW, which we both love right now.
It wasn't on either of our lists.
No.
And I honestly I think AEW is the best wrestling product on TV right now. You're talking greatest of. I can't include it. Same as you. It just hasn't been around long enough. Maybe in 5 years we can include it. Maybe, but like if they keep doing what they're doing now, like they'll be on a list, you know, years down the road, but they just can't be right now. And that's like with everything you're talking about when you go criteria, the only thing that Japan isn't number one in, it would be probably popularity. But again, for me, innovation, all the stuff since the 70s, and the fact that all the other promotions, your AWAs, your Crockett, all the other promotions, even NWA, that people were borrowing from, they're not there anymore. New Japan is still here, still getting borrowed from, still learning lessons from.
And the other thing that's difficult in New Japan is that if you do go find them, and they've just recently started doing where you can watch it with an English commentator that's live, you know, when they had Jim Ross doing that, and I think it was Kevin Kelly from the that used to be with WWE that they were watching. You know, it's just there's not enough eyes on the product here. Yeah, and I think people would really watch it more. I mean, when I found out that they were on Access back when I had DirecTV, I was watching it all the time because it's different. It was, I mean, I talk about this when I talk about the NWA. It's old school, but it's not.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's
well,
the old
that's
school.
The thing with the new NWA. It's like a throwback to the old school.
Yeah, it's the old school format with wrestling talent, and they're allowed to do what they want to do. But the format is still going to be the format, and I think there's something to be said that format, there's nothing wrong with it. But when I watched New Japan a lot when it was on Access, I absolutely loved it.
So we had King Kong just said we should do biggest busts for next week.
Oh,
I think he was talking like, so maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll do worst gimmicks or biggest busts.
Oh my God, worst gimmicks.
That's gotta be a top 300 list right there.
Good God, that can be anything.
I know, right?
I mean, literally in the wrestling business, that can be anything.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we're coming up on time. Why don't you tell people where to get a hold of you and where to watch your show?
I'll tell you what, you can watch Big Ace and I. Corey was on with us last week on Tuesday.
A lot of fun, too. I had a lot of fun.
Big Ace and I, though. And in fact, I'll pop it up there in the comments. Our website, we got a website now, Big Ace and I do. It's called the2count.com. Our wrestling show is called The 2 Count. You can watch it on Twitch on the WrestleMania channel, or I think it's under John Russell Comedy. Corey was nice enough to host it for us last week when he was on, or this week, I guess, on Tuesday. You can buy a shirt from us. It's all there at the 2count.com. You can find out a lot of information. In fact, we actually got it set up to where we're running the show on the website too. You can watch it on the website if you want to. You can comment from Twitch. You can comment wherever, and we'll get them to. Corey, as always, man, it was a blast.
Yeah, man.
I love this list.
Yeah, it's super fun. I mean, I like I said, I wanted to do something a little bit outside the box, and I know it's a cheeky thing, but I don't know. You got to give props to New Japan, baby.
I don't think you were wrong. I don't think I was wrong either.
No, and that's the thing that was so cool is everybody it was all the same. I mean, again, we have different numbers, but the lists were almost identical. I think we had 2 different things each, but everything else was identical. The positions were different, but pretty good. All right, buddy. Well, thanks so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. Do me a favor,
Great
too.
weekend,
grab
friend.
the
We'll
2
talk to
count.
you soon.
Grab the 2 count and pop it into the Show Talk page on the Discord. There's also a wrestling page.
Here's the thing. You'll have to get after me afterwards because I don't know how to do that.
Okay. All right. I'll show you.
I know how to do a lot of stuff. I can't figure the Discord shit out.
All right. Well, stay on the line. I'll explain it to you. I'll just wrap up and I'll be right there. All right. That was John Russell. Wrastle Peas, as it were. Pretty good. Thank you guys so much for watching with us and everything. Another great day. So we're going to just get out of here early. The numbers are dropping with the wrestling, but I like it, so I don't give a fuck. So, thank you so much, Bombers. Thank you. I missed the Wrastle piece. Well, they were at the beginning. You got to get there sooner. It'll be on the replay, as it were. Let's head over into the end phase. Whoa. All right. You guys are awesome. We do this every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Have yourself a good one. Have yourself a good one. Woo!